Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court from 1969 to 1986. Charlene Hunter-Gault spoke to him last week.
If I were writing the Bill of Rights now, there wouldn't be any such thing as the Second Amendment.
Which says?
That a well-regulated militia being necessary for the defense of the state, and people's rights to bear arms.
All right, yo. So we're gonna do this live about gun control, and the reason why they do all these false flag attacks is to have an excuse to be able to take away the gun brandishing rights of American citizens, both Second Amendment citizens and 14th, not Second Amendment, both constitutional citizens and 14th Amendment citizens, which are us, Negroes, right? So I figured I'd do something different instead of us trying to figure out whether it's niggas shooting from the 4th floor or the 32nd floor. Who the fuck cares? It doesn't matter. Or whether people are shooting or not, or whether it's crisis. Like, we know these things already. They've been doing it for too many years. So I figured I'd do something different. And then we'll talk about the end result of why they're doing these things. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview right now. And then we're just going to watch some footage and some history and some things just to prove the point. So, all of these type of attacks is mainly so that they can coax us or the stupid people to think that if you make more gun restriction laws, that somehow laws on a piece of paper are going to stop somebody who doesn't give a fuck about laws from getting a gun. So, which doesn't make any sense. So, you got to realize one thing. I'll say this: Switzerland, which has the most liberal gun law rights in terms of the world population, has the lowest crime rate. Now, why does Switzerland have the lowest crime rate out of everybody in the world in terms of first world nations? Why does it have the least amount of violence in Europe, period? Because everybody there has the right and the ability to own and use automatic rifles, semi-automatic rifles, and handguns. 50% of the women brandish guns. 50% of the population in general, which means 50% of the women alone brandish guns, let alone the men. Okay? You want to know what that does? The increasing of guns means it increases the likelihood that good people have weapons to defend themselves from bad people with weapons to harm them, right? So if you're a bad guy, put yourself in a bad guy's shoes, right? You're not going to whip out a gun so quickly if chances are other motherfuckers around you who may not be down with your plan also probably have guns. You understand? It's a whole lot harder to be a dipshit when you know there's other motherfuckers out there that can shoot your ass cold dead. Right? Now, when you don't have guns, why do you if you notice all of the gun attacks have been happening in the last 10 years, even in the 90s, right? When they had the Timothy McVeigh and him blowing up the thing, right? What are the zones and the regions they choose to attack? Usually it's gun-free zones, right? Gun-free zones. Usually they'll go to a state where it's a conservative state in terms of holding ownership of a weapon, but they'll go to a gun-free zone within the state to act up and do the fuckery. And then all of these liberal jackasses will come over and be like, you see, that's the reason why we gotta have gun laws. It's gotta be more strict. You gotta take guns away. And these jackasses don't study history. If you study history, you realize that Nazi Germany, before it became Nazi Germany, started to do this exact shit. Cook up false terror attacks, right? Chinese government under Mao Zedong, they killed over 50 million people. And before they started doing that, they took the guns away. Cambodia, around 1970s, right? Same thing. Communist regime. Took the guns away. Murdered countless amounts of people. We're talking millions of people here. 50 million. Russia did the same thing. right? And killed how many millions of people? Joseph Stalin, remember? All right, so these are things in history which prove the point. So we're going to watch a few clips and just listen to the way people speak, right?
This has been the subject of one of the greatest pieces of fraud, I repeat the word fraud, on the American public by special interest groups that I have ever seen in my lifetime. Now just look at those words. There are only 3 lines to that amendment. A well-regulated militia. If the militia, which was going to be the state army, was going to be well-regulated, why shouldn't 16 and 17 and 18 or any other age persons be regulated in the use of arms the way an automobile is regulated?
The news of the
All right.
Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court from
So, do you see what he said, right? And this kind of hinges on the thing that Raspy was trying to get you guys on, which is the driving versus traveling, right? Now, driving and traveling, these are words, right? The only thing that separates the two of them are the context behind the words, not the actual activity of driving, right? And notice how they've changed it from being something that you can normally do without, it's just expected that I'm able to do this, to now you need government permission. Same way, traveling, you never needed government permission. Just like I don't need government permission to use my legs. You understand what I'm saying? I can walk from A to B. I don't need your permission. In the same way, for me to own a firearm, I never needed permission. Right? They've already done that part, having to get permission. Now they're trying to even further restrict you by all out having you have no access to any weapons. Now keep in mind, if a terrorist or anybody, just not even a terrorist, wants to kill somebody, there are a plethora of different methods for them to do so, and a host of different tools for them to do so. All you got to do is go to Home Depot. You literally have combat weapons all over the motherfucking place in any construction store. You understand what I'm saying? Like, a nail gun could be used for terrorists. I could shoot motherfuckers in the face with a nail gun. It's going to be a lot harder to kill motherfuckers, but I'll put a lot of people in the hospital. You understand? That's still terrorism. Right? If I wanted to walk around, run around and start stabbing niggas, there's machete everywhere. There's kitchen knives everywhere. So that it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? So we're just going to keep going. Second Amendment fraud. So this is even back in 1991. They've been trying to work on gun restriction, right? Okay, so let me see. Here, look.
Most of you out there are going to be aware of groups like Bloomberg, Everytown, Moms Demand Action, the Brady Campaign, etc. Fact is, they're all pretty much the same group. They're usually run by the same people and funded by the same sources. And they love to spread the same, let's call them anti-gun myths. They're actually lies, but let's call them myths. I want to do a series of videos over the next few months that address some of these anti-gun myths. And I want to take these myths to task and maybe dispel them, not through innuendo and half-truth, but through logic and math. Now, one myth that they all love to spread is that stricter gun laws help stop violent crime. Therefore, states with stricter gun laws should have less violence.
But I'm going to show you the statistics which show you that gun violence has gone up in every state where they've added restrictions. Every state where they add gun law restrictions, violence goes up. Criminals don't give a shit about gun laws. Okay? Like, what the fuck are laws going to do? You understand what I'm saying? There's a law against smoking marijuana, and damn near everybody fucking smokes marijuana, right? Or uses marijuana in some way, shape, or form, whether it's for hemp products, whether it's for CBD oil, whatever, right? not only recreational use, you're talking medicinal, whatever, around the board. Still a law against it, but guess what? It's still in use. So what do laws do, if anything? They don't do anything but line the government's pockets with money, right? So they can fine you and charge you. That's it.
Violent crime. The Brady campaign even rates states by how strict their gun laws are. If you have strict gun laws, you're a good state. If you have loose gun laws, you're a bad state. They make a list. They rank them from 1.
I ain't know my man Golden Child was in here. Yo, what up, G? Your bars are bad. Your bars are the shit, my nigga. I respect them shits. All right, back to it.
Through 50. The lower the number, the better. If you are in their top 10, that means you have the strictest gun laws and therefore should have the lowest accounts of violent crime. If you're in the lower 10, say 41 through 50, you have the loosest gun laws and therefore, by logic of what they say, you should have the highest violent crime rates. Now, before I go on with this video, I want to say that these lists are taken directly from the Brady campaign's website. I was reading the Brady campaign website, and I found this list on there, so I started doing a little bit of digging. Now, the numbers I use along with their list are compilations of data from the FBI, the United States Census, etc. Now, I tried to use numbers that were from the same year. So there might be numbers out there that are a little bit different than the numbers I show you. Remember, these are from a couple of studies that combine all the relative...
I know he's talking a lot. Right now, it's a lot of fluff, but we're just going to get through it so that he can get to the numbers. The numbers is what we care about, right?
Available data and are from the same year. But I've noticed that even when there is a year difference, there doesn't seem to be much change. Like maybe one state will switch places with the state above or below it. But other than that, the states on the list stay pretty much the same. The rankings stay pretty much the same on both lists. So that being said, let's continue with the video. Let's take a look at that Brady campaign list.
All right, let me just, before he gets into it, right, let me just ask you a question. How many of us, like, live in the neighborhoods we live in, right? And you got, if you don't have motherfuckers in your family that's criminals, then I don't know what to tell you. But what I'm saying to you is, when you have people that you know personally, right, whether they're your family or not, right, that are would be considered criminals, right? Do they give a fuck about gun laws? Let me just keep it a buck with you. Them niggas don't give a shit about gun laws. Keep it a buck. And these are people that you know personally, or we know personally, right? So imagine a stranger out on the street, right? Grow up in the same situation we grow up in. They don't give a fuck about gun laws. So imagine white people who have white privilege. You think they give a shit about gun laws? If they want to go out and do something, they're gonna go do it. Right? Didn't they go into a black church and shoot up how many of our elderly people, and then took homeboy to Burger King? Come on.
That's the best and worst states right now. Let's look at their best states and their worst states. Their 10 best and their 10 worst. Now, when you look at their 10 best, it's, of course, California.
All right, so check this out, right? I guess this guy's name is Brady, right? And these are the states with gun law restrictions. I see my state on here. And then these are the ones which are the most liberal. And if you remember DMX, this is kind of when they kept trying to come after DMX. Oh, what's up, Maya? When they came after DMX, one of the first states he ran to is Arizona, because he could defend himself out there legally. You see, they still got the X. They still got the DMX anyway. They found a way to get to him, and keep fucking with him. But you notice this is one of the states he ran to. That came to mind. I don't know why it came, but it's probably an important reason. But look at all these states, right? So in terms of gun law restrictions, California, Connecticut, New Jersey, Maryland, New York, Massachusetts, Hawaii, Illinois, Rhode Island, Delaware. If you notice, a lot of these are Negro states, right? Or high concentration of Negroes in these states. California, we all over there. The tri-state area, whether that be Maryland, New York, New Jersey, New York. I guess we can even include Boston. There's a lot of us there, right? Connecticut, there's a decent amount of us there. I don't know about Hawaii, but I know that non-white people, there's the islanders there, the natives. So because they're not a part of the white social structure, obviously they're going to have stricter gun laws. We already know Illinois, Chicago, Chi-Town. I it's not even a theory. Like, a couple people I know, because out here in Southside, right? So in Southside, Jamaica, Queens, and I could tell you in certain places in Brooklyn, I don't know for certain, but I just have a feel. Hang on one second. Good evening, Sweet Block. Nah, you got the wrong number. It's a Sweet Block. Alright. Alright, so I just have this understanding that there are sometimes they do drop boxes. I don't know if anybody else heard of this, but I know people that say that they drop boxes of guns off in the hood, right? And it's just they want us to kill each other with it. And what they tend to do is put the little tracking numbers or little tracking devices on the guns. Same thing they did in Mexico when they gave the Mexican cartel all them automatic rifles, and then when they started killing U.S. troops and shit, or whoever they were killing that were U.S. citizens, they were able to find them by tracking the guns. So if you know people in the hood that know about things that I'm talking about right now, you tell them. You understand what I'm saying? So I understand grabbing the guns and the weapon and having them is good. My fault. Somebody called me. I'll go downstairs real quick. But yeah, so when y'all talk to y'all people in the hood, ask them, obviously don't do it on here, on social media, but ask them how they getting their shit. And to make sure they're not carrying something with a tracking device on it. Because you see they coming for us, so... we got to move a little bit quieter. I wish I could say more, about certain things like that. But obviously, Hang on a second. Oh, shit. I gotta run back upstairs and get my keys and shit. Give me a second.
Front door.
Just plug y'all in real quick. I'll be back.
Front door. Front door.
Alright, let's get back to it.
California is their number one. Remember, number one is...
Yeah, so just talk to your people. Like, look up what I'm saying to you for real. Like, and then there's another thing. If you got people in your family or friends or whatever that you know they carry on them, and they live in one of these states, right? Or they just not carrying legally, you need to let them know that, like I let all my family know. They got the new cop cars where they got the scanners where they're using, they're pretty much using, it's like x-rays. They're using x-ray scanners so they can see if you got the hammer underneath your clothing and all that type of shit. So if you see the vans rolling around, they use them in those. I don't know about other neighborhoods, but sometimes they got the barricades. It look like the overseer towers, where it's like it make the zigzag, but it's a cop tower, and they put them like by the projects and shit. Like they got them in those and all of that. So just tell your family be careful, all right? All right, back to it.
Is the best state, and number 50 would be the worst. So, like I said, in number one is California. It goes down through Connecticut, New Jersey, Maryland, New York, Massachusetts, Hawaii, Illinois, Rhode Island, and Delaware. Those are the states with the tightest, most restrictive gun laws. Therefore, by their logic, they should have the lowest violent crime rates. And if you go over to their worst list here and you work your way up from, I guess, the least of the worst.
Yo, you a fool, sir. Nigga said a white man made him call, sir. You know how they do.
To the worst, in the 50 position, you work your way up from Utah, Montana,
All right, my fault.
Kansas, Mississippi, Vermont, South Dakota, Wyoming, Alaska, and
All right, what are all these? These are all predominantly Caucasoid or Caucasian dwelling places, right? And what's funny is for those of you that are understanding that we're telling you that they didn't take us from Africa, we've been here. And that in terms of the Israelite perspective, some of our territories come across this region of the United States, right? So this is how, when you read Deuteronomy 28, it'll tell you that we were seeing our enemies eat of the fruit of our land, the fruit of our labor. Well, who the fuck was working the soil and teaching these crackers how to do shit? Us, when we were here, right? So we got to start to put the history into perspective, proper perspective, so that when we're reading the Torah, we're understanding how everything unfolded. So you won't need to follow pages like mine if you know how to do what I'm doing. I'm trying to teach, like, this is why I'm so hard on a lot of y'all, because I'm trying to teach you how to fish so that you don't have to keep coming back. So I don't have to keep fishing by my fucking self, because one person catching fish is a lot more difficult than 10 of us catching fish together. You understand what I'm saying? If it's one of us, I can maybe feed 10 people. If it's 10 of us, we could feed a village. If it's a village of us fishing, we could feed a whole bigger community. If it's a whole community fishing, we could feed a whole state, so on and so forth. So, like, I keep telling y'all this, one of the biggest mistakes that Malcolm said he made was the fact that he didn't elevate the intelligence of the people as he was learning. So I keep explaining this to y'all. This page is not like CNN or nothing like this. Sometimes you're learning as I'm learning. You understand what I'm saying? I give you everything. I give you the shitty half of me, and I give you the brilliant side of me. So that way, if I die tomorrow, there should be no fucking eulogy where the description of me is perfect. You understand what I'm saying? It probably should be really balanced. Some of y'all should be like, yo, man, that nigga was the man. Others will be like, man, he was a piece of shit. That's how it should be. It should be balanced. So I give you the most realist perspective that I can give you without having to be too raw. You understand? And drive you all the way away. So let's go.
finally, in the worst position, Arizona. These states have the loosest gun laws and therefore, by logic, should have the highest crime rates. Now let's actually look at how each one of these states ranks as far as violent crime is concerned. Which ones have the highest and lowest occurrences of violent crime per capita? Surely the 10 best states will have the lowest rates and the 10 worst states will have the highest rates. Now in this category, the higher your number, the better. The higher your number, that means the less violent you are. If you're number 1, that means you have the highest violent crime rate. If you're number 50, that means you have the lowest violent crime rate.
Okay.
Now when I put these numbers in, any number that's 26 through 50, meaning they're safer than that medium divide, they're going to be in blue. Any number that's 25.
All right, I just wanted to point out the 4 corners where you hear us talking about, which may be a safe zone when all of the destruction in terms of what we're expecting in terms of the earthquakes and by the areas where they have all of these power plants, right? And we'll pull up the map a little bit later, but I just want to point out the land. Notice it: Arizona, Wyoming, Utah, and I believe the other one is New Mexico. So New Mexico might be somewhere closer down here. But these are all states where it has the least amount of gun restrictions. Okay? And it's also flat land. And it's also away from the coast. So we got to keep that in mind, right?
Through 1, meaning that they are less safe or more violent than that median divider, they're going to be in red. Surely there'll be more red under the worst states than there is under the best states. But when you put the numbers in here, immediately you see there are twice as many red numbers over on the Brady 10 best states than there are in the Brady 10 worst states. That just doesn't make sense. If stricter gun laws mean less, then why are there twice as many states that have higher violence?
See what I'm saying? The more gun laws there are, the more restrictions you put on them, the more easier you make it for criminals. The more prey you provide for the predators.
Crime rates in their best states list, and there is no worst state.
Like, come on. Like, those of us that live, like I said, you live in the hood, you understand what I'm talking about. So, if you grew up in the hood, you know that, all right, I'm not going to be able to carry a hammer with me, but you carry a little 2-inch blade with you or something. Like if you took the train, like I used to take the train to school, so I used to carry my little 2-inch on me. Not always, but after I got jumped the first time, wasn't going to take no chances. You know what I mean? So, well, that wasn't the first time I got jumped. First time taking the train, traveling that area, niggas fixed me. So, I made sure I used to carry on me, right? So, you know how it is. So, why would you expect it to be any different on a grander scale? All right, use the lessons that you learned. Like maybe this is an advantage of already being in captivity, is knowing how to operate. Remember, they do everything to us first to see how it works, right? Then once they figure out a method and perfect the method of destruction, they expand the game to everybody else. Right? This is why when we talk about racism and the New World Order and what's going on, this is why the other nations, in particular white people, they'll whine, they're doing it to us too. And it's like, yeah, they started doing it to you now because you motherfuckers did nothing when we told you they were doing it to us. Now you got to share in the fuckery. You understand what I'm saying? That's why I don't have no let up with white people, if you notice. But let's go.
List. It doesn't make sense. In fact, if you just look at the best state, the number one state, the best state that Brady ranks, California, it's number 14 in violent crime. If you look at the state they list dead last, number 50, as being the worst state, which is Arizona, it ranks 16 in violent crime. That's 2 positions apart. The one that's the number one state is 2 positions worse than the state that's in last place as far as Brady is concerned. That also doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And if you look at the state on each list that has the highest violent crime rate, it's an even bigger difference in the way opposite of what you would think. Delaware, under Brady's 10 best states, is the 7th most violent state in the union, where over here on the worst states list, it's still Arizona at 16. That's an even bigger difference, that doesn't make sense. In fact, when you look at the Brady 10 worst states list, the states that should by Brady logic, have the worst violent crime rates. 6 of the states that make up this list of 10 also make up 60% of the top 10 safest states in the union.
Crazy. So the safest states within the United States are the states which have the least restrictive gun laws, or as close to the least restrictive gun laws, right?
These 6 states are 6 of the 10 states in the United States that have the lowest violent crime rates. That makes no sense whatsoever. If your goal is to prevent violent crime, why would 6 of the safest states in the union be on your 10 worst list? And then when you look at Brady's top 10 best states list, 2 of the states on that list are actually 2 of the most violent states in the union. They make up 2 of the top 10 states with the highest violent crime rates in the United States. Yet Brady is applauding these states as perfect examples of what to do to reduce violent crime, while they are 2 of the worst states in the union.
Yeah, we're gonna get to Switzerland. So I just want to show you some of the state stuff. His voice kind of annoying, right? We're gonna run through a few of these videos.
Well, that's a good question. The claim usually goes like this. Since the U.S. has a high gun ownership rate, it results in a high murder rate. Conversely, since the U.K. has a low gun ownership rate, it...
All right. So look at this. This is the reason why it was so, like, if you notice with Great Britain, they got cameras up the ass. They got rape issues. Like, rape is really high up there apparently. Gun violence is pretty prevalent over in Great Britain. If you know anything about hooligans, they act like savages anyway. Like, my mom is from England. My mom is not a white woman, so don't get it twisted. My mom is a black woman. Both her parents are Jamaican. right? And she was just born in England. She used to tell me about during soccer games when white people, if they lost the game or they won the game, they were flipping fucking cars if you were parked by, if they live right by Anfield Stadium, which is by Liverpool. So if those of you who don't know football, Liverpool is known for their hooligans and known for their violence. So at least back in the 70s and 80s. So, and the 90s. So, they're known for that type of behavior, and they have the strictest laws. They have cameras, literally something like 3,000 cameras per one block. On one block, how you got 3,000 cameras? And they all have facial recognition technology. They probably read your biometric aura or your energetic reading. It's the same shit that they're bringing over here. So a lot of y'all keep tagging me in the post about the MTA putting up that big metal tower with the black camera on it. What do you think that is? That's the facial recognition technology, right? You ever seen where China shows a video and they got the little red bars or blue bars or yellow bars to signify it's a car in motion, or it's a person in motion, or a group of people in motion? Same thing we used to prove that Kanika wasn't by herself. It's the same shit, except it's upgraded now. So that's all it is. Alright, let's keep going.
It results in a low murder rate. Now, at the risk of reigniting an old parent-child fight, let's take a look and see if that claim makes any sense. Since the media likes to sensationalize things just a bit when it comes to guns, let's just try to stick with the facts when we look at this. Now, it's true that the U.S. has a ton of guns. Multiple tons, actually. Rifles, shotguns, handguns, you name it. In fact, there are so many guns in the U.S. that there is literally one gun for every person in the country.
Except for niggas, because they don't want us to have none of them shits. That's why I really fuck with your brother Martinlutheriii. So a lot of people be like, man, how you know he ain't a Mason? He ain't done sold out. I be like, listen, I watch people's progress and I listen to what they say, and I try and use my gut feeling as well. The guy seemed like a really good guy, and he seems really thorough. So that's why I still follow the page. I've had people hit me up and be like, he does a lot of posts where it seems like he's affiliated with Masonry. Even if he is, right? There's still time for him to come to and come out of that shit. But as long as he's not telling you anything that's hindering you from the Torah or anything like that, then I don't really have a gripe or a problem, right? So Martinlutheriii, if you don't know his profile, he's the one that does the Black Guns Matter. Fuck with his shit. Support his shit. That's the type of things that we need to have to encourage not only knowledge, but even a legal way to do it. My personal thing is I wouldn't sign up and get a gun license because we know what's coming, right? So you're just putting yourself on the list of people that they're going to watch anyway. You know what I mean? So if anything, go learn how to use the guns. And then this is my advice. The type of knowledge that Maj gives in terms of the classification of specific weapons, what bullets go into what cartridges, shit like that is shit we gotta know and understand. Do I have it down pat yet? Not yet. Not enough to teach. But I will, at least to be ready for what's coming, right? You want to know that this is why. All right, your job isn't to buy as many guns as possible, as much ammunition as possible. You can only carry but so much. Your job is to work on your technique and your strategy. Why? Because your main job is to survive, motherfucker. If you survive and you kill the next dude that's in front of you, you pick up his guns or his ammunition and the rest of his fucking resources and you keep it moving. Do you understand? It's not going to be one of them situations where we're going to be sitting still waiting for help. You sit still, you're dead. When the time comes, click on that "the wilderness is coming" hashtag. That's the reason why I made it, right? And a couple people kept it going when the first page got taken away. There's a reason why, okay?
This puts the U.S. in the #1 spot in the world for firearm ownership. The UK, on the other hand, is very different. There are outright bans on many firearms, and what you can get requires a ton of red tape to obtain. As a result, the gun ownership rate in the UK is much, much lower.
Did you hear what he said, right? Now, I'm not sure when this video was made, but that has changed severely, because you see how hard it is for at least black people to get guns legally.
In the #1 spot in the world for firearm ownership. The UK, on the other hand, is...
Oh, see? This is from 2014, so much has changed, right?
very different. There are outright bans on many firearms, and what you can get requires a ton of red tape to obtain. As a result, the gun ownership rate in the UK is much, much lower than that of the US. Because of this, the UK is ranked 88th in terms of world firearm ownership. To speak in real numbers, the US comes in at about 101.5 guns for every to do is we need to ask the question, do these numbers tell the whole story?
Right, because remember, context is everything. It's not only about numbers.
What we need to do now is to take a look at another country with a high firearm ownership rate and then compare their numbers to the US and the UK as well. So let's take number 3, Switzerland.
We're going to get to that a little bit later, right? We might have to open up a second live, but if we have to, we'll do one more just so we can hit the point home, right?
Now the Swiss are great because when it comes to being an impartial party in a dispute, they have that market cornered. Switzerland has a gun ownership rate of about 1 gun for every 2 people in the country. To use some hard numbers, Switzerland comes
Now keep in mind, this is 2014, okay?
in at about 45.7 guns for every 100 people in the country. This puts them almost right in the middle between the US on the high side and the UK on the low side. So how does Switzerland stack up in the gun homicide rate comparison? Well, the number should come in right at about 1.7 or so if the correlation holds, because Switzerland has just under half the guns that the US does. And what did the number actually come in at? Only 0.52. That's much lower than what we'd expect. So how does Switzerland rank in the total homicide rate? Well, Switzerland has a rate that is only 0.6.
If you notice, the homicide rate, it's lower than both. And it's showing you the balance, the correlation, right? This is one extreme, this is another. There's some balance here.
That number is lower than the UK's number. This means that Switzerland has about 7 times the gun ownership rate of the UK, but only has about half of the homicide rate.
More guns, less homicide. Okay?
This theory is busted. So what does this tell us? Well, this means there is something else at work, namely not firearms, and that's affecting the outcome.
Right. Okay, so, hold on.
Our country's
Let me see. Let's do an international comparison, right? Let's see what they're talking about.
obsession with personal firearms are adolescent, psychosexual, dangerous, and frankly embarrassing when facing our European film critic friends' American gun culture. So, hopping over to the ever-reliable Wikipedia, for example, we discovered that when it comes to per capita gun ownership, the USA does in fact top the list in glory. When measured as the number of guns per 100 residents, the US comes in first at 90. 90 guns per 100 residents. Evidence for the progressives on the left that they do in fact live in the murder capital of the world, because when it comes to gun ownership, America is number 1 with a bullet, with by far the highest per capita gun ownership in the world. 90 guns per 100 people is half again more than the number 2 spot,
Right.
by Serbia with 58. Now, all we have to do to prove the left-wing progressive weenie case for banning guns is to do a quick search for the per capita murder rate. And sure enough, leading the number 2 country, again by about half again more, with 90 murders per 100,000 people is Honduras.
Yeah, I was about to say, machetes are cool when close combat is brutal. So unless you prepare for the close combat, you better try and get yourself a pistol or something. You know, close combat ain't no joke, man.
Socialist gun-controlled Honduras. Because even though America has by far the highest per capita gun ownership rate, we do not have the highest per capita murder rate. And unfortunately for the progressive leftist argument, we're not second either. Or third. In fact, when it comes to per capita murders, Team USA didn't even make the top 5.
See, so per capita murders, we didn't even make the top 5. Okay?
As a matter of fact, we didn't even make the top 10. or the top 20, or the top 30, or the top 40. We're not in the top 50 per capita murders. Gun culture America is not in the top 60 nations in terms of per capita murders, or the top 70, or even the top.
Are you listening to what he's saying? So what is the urgency behind more gun restriction laws if we're not even in the top 60 in terms of intentional homicide rates? Intentional keyword, but homicide rates in general, right? Which have to do with firearms. We're not even worth 60. Let's keep going.
Top 80. Or the top 90.
We're not top 90.
Of the 218 nations and territories listed for per capita murders, the United States of America, Murderville, USA, did not break the top 100.
So we're not even in the top 100 in terms of, homicides with gun violence.
We are, with 4.7 murders per 100,000 people in 2012, number 111.
Now, this is as of 2012, so this could have dramatically changed, but I doubt it.
111th place puts us near the top of the bottom half of all the nations and territories in the world when it comes to total per capita murders, and virtually all, if not all, of those nations ranked higher than us are big state socialist utopias with stringent gun control laws. How tragically disappointing that must be for our moral superiors, and unfortunately for the left, it gets a lot worse, because 111th place, America's murder rate of 4.7 per 100,000 citizens, is higher than it should be because it includes so many deadly, murderous, toxic places, like number 1 on the list of highly gun-controlled Democratic